if you are a real estate agent and you are tired of getting punched in the head, tired of taking the losses, and it's starting to wear you down, you're going to want to pay attention to this. Dave Lewis has been taking the hits literally and figuratively and coming bouncing back and getting some big wins along the way. So, David, welcome. Welcome, welcome again.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. It's such a good time last time. We're going to run it back.
Here we go. Yeah, we're gonna go a little bit deeper this time. We're gonna be talking about your personal fortitude that actually got you to where you are and keeps you going and keeps you growing. We started out to refresh anybody's memory that had seen it. Your first year in real estate, you did 30 deals, and in between there and to get there, you had to work multiple jobs, and you really were grinding it out to get there. And when we when we left the recording studio and started chatting, I realized we missed an opportunity to talk about your mindset and how you persevere through all this. So I'd love for you to just let's tap into that a little bit and what is it that's inside of you that keeps you going?
Yeah. No, but yeah, I appreciate all that. Yeah. I mean, I think let's not call it a differentiator. It's not something that's inside me because it makes it seem like it's not inside everybody else. I think most people that know me would admit there's nothing special about me, right? There's nothing remarkable about me. It's just, I had a unique life experience when I first came into my professional world where I'd watched my parents who built this really, really big empire. I graduated college 2008, 2009. I think ended up swerved off the road in my car. I couldn't drive. Like, I ended up hitting a tree going like 60 miles an hour. So I was like life flighted, like couldn't walk, like couldn't do anything. I lived, I was fine, ICU, some internal bleeding, but I survived. But it took me at a pinnacle of like my life, like where I had graduated college, like I was supposed to move on to like some big career. And I got stuck at my parents' house, right? Like it's not the trajectory you see when you graduate college, right? Like you're supposed to go get that first job. You're supposed to, so I like, it was like a weird like de-evolution, right? Like I was going backwards. And this was in 2009. So at the same time, I'd watched my parents who were entrepreneurs, like who had built this really big business from, a one pickup truck operation to being in 3 different states and just a massive thing that they had sold and had this giant windfall, being entrepreneurs and being hardworking the entire time I grew up. They had moved into housing and they had built a bunch of homes, but in 2009, it wasn't the new construction market, and they had actually, lost like 32 spec homes.
Wow.
I'd watched them lose this major windfall. And at the time, like I was talking to my dad, like I'm like on a walker, like not only am I like devolving, like I'm actually going like I went straight from being like someone healthy who's walking to like the mobility of like a 80-year-old person, right? I've got a walker with like the tennis balls on it back at my parents' house, right? So it's like the opposite of freedom. And then, I was talking to my dad and he had said, he's like, I didn't realize you had to hit 2 home runs in life. He's like, I thought we hit one. I worked really hard to hit 1 home run and I thought that was it. And I was like, so that was just like stuck in my head.
Right.
So long-winded answer to your question, I had that exposure, and I think that led for someone who I think most people would agree is unremarkable and not that special. I just realized don't take any wins for granted and you got to keep swinging. And that's kind of been the basis of, what has driven me and separated me from a lot of people in the field is not only did I realize, oh, you probably got to keep hitting home runs, right? Like you can't one thing is not going to carry you for your life because situations change, markets change, lifestyles change, like everything changes, right? Sunshine doesn't last forever. The only guarantee is that it's going to rain one day and it's going to be sunny again another day, right? There's lots of evolution coming and there's lots of seasons coming and lots of changes in weather. And the second piece was I was able to separate how much I care about what people think when I take those losses. Because the thing about taking swings is you're going to miss more than you're going to hit. And most people don't take swings out of the fear of the outcome. Most importantly, what are people going to think if I miss? What are people going to think if I don't win? What are people think? And those 2 mindset pieces, knowing that missing is not only possible, but it should be expected, and then not really caring what people think when you do miss, have kind of set me up to, I don't know, miss more gracefully than most, I guess. I don't know if that makes sense with that
It
track.
keeps coming back. Like you
Yeah.
said, you're going to hit the home runs once, you're going to hit them here and there.
Yeah, well, you gotta keep swinging, and, like, and that's the thing is even when you hit the biggest home run, like, that can go away. So I like that was kind of the foundation. And like I was really not lucky because it was a really hard time for me, like going through the physical stuff and basically, like getting stalled when I was supposed to be starting my professional career. But it was a really big foundational lesson. And like I actually didn't have to experience the biggest loss because I watched my parents go through it. And they're entrepreneurs by heart. They've bounced back. They started new businesses. Like they're fine. But like during that time period, like you, I can see that now. Hindsight's always 2020.
Right.
But it was a dark period. Like it was a hard period for them. And like they at the time, like there was no guarantee that they were going to bounce back, and there was no guarantee that I was going to bounce back physically. And I don't know, like when you start your adult, right, or professional journey like in those type of circumstances, it just gives you like a pretty unique perspective on what success is, what it takes, and the fact that everything can go away in a moment.
Yeah, let's talk about your actual mindset. Like you're injured, you're in a walker. Do you have one of those horns on the walker
No, I
seat?
mean, I'm a giant man, so you can hear me coming in a
You could,
walker pretty easily. There's no horn required.
so what was, I know you got up and you kept swinging. What was going on? I mean, there had to be some dark thoughts going on at that point, or
Well,
were you completely a positive guy at that moment?
no, I mean, like, I don't think I was ever in, like, a dark place where, where I thought necessarily, like, it's not worth it.
Right.
But honestly, it's probably like, I was too young and dumb. Like, maybe if I'd been further in my career, I would have had those thoughts, but I was like, you still had it to me, it was just a delay. I still had the optimism of, like, you can't tell a fresh college graduate anything, right? Like, they've never taken the first awful job yet. They've just taken, like, their business classes where it's like they're analyzing Nike and analyzing Starbucks, and they're like, "Oh, I understand business," and they haven't taken that entry level job that follows where you have an awful manager who, like, like, they haven't seen the difficulties of the corporate ladder. I still had that dumb optimism, so I was like, "Man, I'm just stalled. I'm stalled." Right? So it didn't get too dark in my mind. The
Gotcha.
physical stuff is the physical stuff. I don't know, like that I have a high tolerance for pain, so I was just like, "Man, whatever, I just gotta get through this." But the mindset was tough in the sense of, man, like, it was probably tougher watching my parents, like, endure what they were enduring because, like I said, like, the dumb optimism is all based around, like, I'm gonna be successful and I'm gonna have things. So I think more so than being worried about me and being in a dark place, like for me, I was just like, man, like I don't know that success is what I thought it was. Like you know what I mean? Like I don't know that like I thought success had staying power. I thought you had unsuccessful people and you had successful people. And once you check the box of being a successful person, like that's your brand. Like you were rolling with only successful people for the rest of your life. I didn't
Right.
realize it was a day by day, week by week, month by month, like seasonal thing that could go as just as fast as it came. And I was like that was, and I don't know that I registered it all at the time. Just in hindsight, like it put this fear in me that cool, you're winning today, but what about tomorrow?
Is your definition of success today the same as what it was back then?
I just don't know that I believe in it. Like I believe in incremental wins. I just don't know that I believe in winning the game.
Right.
So yes, it did change my definition of success. Like most people, like I said, think that like you're successful, but you know what I mean? Like, but you're not. Like if you're successful, cool, right? Like, I'm a University of Alabama guy and like they always talk about like, after winning all their national championships, which let's be honest, there was a really absurd amount of national championships under the greatest coach ever in Nick Saban, but they would say, he would give you 24 hours to celebrate and then you were back working on the next season. And like, I don't know, like I think that's kind of how my mind works is like, hey, you may have won this award or hey, you may have gotten this really big check or you may have made this really big purchase.
Right.
What's next? Because the rain is coming, man. Like the rain is coming and that's a guarantee. So like, what are you doing? But I think on the flip side, that fear has probably helped me to accomplish more overall. I mean, I'm 40 than most people will accomplish in a lifetime. And I'm not talking about from a success category. Like, I don't think anyone is like sitting here saying that David is the most successful person I know. I think I've done okay for myself, but I think it's the swings. right? Like, if I'm not in the middle of a swing, I don't know that I'm living, and, that's important to me, whether it be the boxing gyms or whether it be the real estate teams or the building of LPT or the building of expansion teams within KW and that ecosystem. Like, it's part of me that, like, it's always gotta be you always gotta be cooking something. I'm always trying to be part of the next big thing, and I don't know, there's probably something unhealthy about it too, right? But we're not here to talk about the unhealthy side of it. We're here to talk about, like, the benefit
Well,
of it.
we can
Because
dig into that.
yeah.
What is your definition of success? Because there is no end game. I believe in that. There's the last inning, the last out, you're dead. So there is no end. So what is success to you?
This is a crazy definition, but, like, it's probably the one that's resonated with me the most. Somebody said that true success is being able to walk into any restaurant and order anything on the menu without having to have any second thought about it. And, like, I like that because it really is. It's not about having a car or the house or winning an award. It's about having true options.
It's a freedom,
Right? You may not want to order the most expensive bottle of wine, or you may not want to order the most expensive, like, meal there, but you could, and it wouldn't stop you,
right?
right? You might not wanna go to Disney World and do, like, the private tours and all that stuff, but you could,
Right.
right? And, like, that's having options in life is kinda what it's all about. So to me, like, that's such an interesting metric of success. And two, remember, that's day by day, right? Like, that's one meal at a time, right? So it's not saying that a lot of people wanna talk about legacies and
Right.
I wanna build 100 millionaires beyond myself, like, and I think most of them are just full of it, honestly. Like, that's an interesting metric for success in my mind because life is about experiences and life changes in life is, like, we're all I don't know. So that's me. That's my
Yeah.
definition of success, to be able to walk into any restaurant and order whatever I want and not think about it, and that maybe just doesn't apply to restaurants. Maybe it's a car dealership, maybe it's a.
Yeah. It's a trip. It's whatever. It's all that. Just
Yeah, having
having
options,
that
right?
freedom. That's great. So you mentioned you mentioned some of the swings that you continue to do. You're doing you still selling homes. Tell us what's going on right now.
Yeah, yeah. So in my life, it's interesting. I've kind of tightened up the real estate team. For the past decade, I've run one of the bigger teams in the Atlanta area where we've sold 200, 300, 400 homes a year. And when the market shifted, I realized that I was a little bit burned out as a leader, but also too that I was surrounded by agents who didn't really want to work. And I've kind of evolved in that sense too of understanding that, like, I'm a hustler. I like to work. I like to grind. Not everyone wants to do that. And that's okay, but it's when the market is tough, you really don't have any options. Like, you really do need to grind. And I had just made a decision to kind of tighten up the team, wind it down a little bit, focus on a little bit more into individual production. So I'm out there selling some houses, which is awesome. Like, I've got my role as an advisor and a consultant with LPT Realty, the company that I helped was a founding member and helped build, who's just continuing to break records and monumental industry changing growth.
What do you mean by breaking records?
Yeah, so last year we were just in general, at the end of last year, we accomplished landing in all 50 states, which, most of us are used to these bigger brokerages who've done that, but it usually took them a decade or so to do it,
Right.
or they did it so in a franchise model, which is a little bit different. We're the fastest brokerage to go from 0 to 50 in, just under 3 years. We're now a top 10 brokerage in the entire world, which is crazy when you think that, in 2020, LPT was just an idea in the brilliant mind of Robert Palmer and something that was being displayed on a whiteboard for those of us who were around in the beginning. Yeah. We were the Inman Innovator of the Year last year. This year, we're a 5-time finalist. We've got an amazing team out of the Paramount Home Group with Keegan Siegfried, who's been nominated, Will Grimes for Innovative Agent. So you get Innovative Team, Innovative Agent, LPT Holdings, Innovative Company. Motivational Monday was the Podcast of the Year finalist, and I'm sure I'm leaving one out, but man, it's wild to see the overall impact. And so in those 50 states, we continue to grow.
That's
So
great.
we're not reporting growth numbers at the moment, but man, like, I think people are going to be really shocked when they hear those numbers and they realize how quickly we're climbing into the top 10. And on the team perspective, a lot of the competitors have said, hey, LPT is a place for, discount agents, and the LPT is a place for individual agents. But if you looked at the real trends for this year, LPT was actually represented in almost the top 5 of, I think, 30 of the 50 states. Like, it was wild, right?
Wow.
So this baby company has come the place for the biggest and best teams in the country.
What's
Um,
driving that? Why are the teams going?
the economics are really, really favorable at LPT, meaning, we built LPT. Robert's vision for LPT was to be a frictionless brand, meaning it meets you where you are, and that's something that people hadn't accomplished. Keller Williams for the wa was for the longest time, like, they invented the real estate team, I mean, that's not
Mm,
exactly true, but it's mostly true. Like, they defined it, they put it in a book, and it became the place until it wasn't. You know, as you see the evolution of a team, when you were like a 5 agent team, Keller Williams, like, was a really great place for you, but the market has evolved and things have changed. And now you have these other market factors where you have teams that are associated with just growth, and the mega team who wants to expand into multiple states and multiple markets. Like, traditional brokerage just doesn't work for it. So you need a single entity or cloud-based brokerage to meet you where you are. There's this whole, like, there's an acronym IDOS, right? Which is individual definition of success. And it's kind of the cornerstone of what LPT was built on. And some people, it's just holding on to their license because their cousin's gonna sell a house next year, right?
right.
And other people, it's building an empire that's the biggest in their town, and other people, it's building an empire that's the biggest in their region. Some people wanna take over the country. For the first time ever, LPT is a company that was built to not cause friction in any of those aspects.
That's
So that was, yeah, so all of that has been really cool to watch, and I've been taking a lot of time and energy in the growth of LPT and, serving the agents at LPT outside of my individual real estate and team. And the team's still rocking a little bit, just a little bit on a smaller scale. And then we've got our what I call the Catalyst movement, which is my podcast series, which is, for lack of a better term, we'll call it a podcast, but it's basically just an interview series where I sit down with some of the biggest and best minds in the industry and just talk shop. Lately, we've had Raquel Quinnett, Dustin Runyon on. We've had an amazing agent out of Georgia, Eden Jeffries, who is built the biggest young agent network in real estate history, right? From scratch. We've had it just so that continuing to try to keep a pulse on the market and the pulse of the agents by, like, finding the secrets from the people who did it the most and did it the best.
Nice. And you still boxing?
Yeah.
So like boxing company?
Yeah. I've got oh yeah, I didn't even talk about that. I've got the boxing gyms. We've doubled our size, and we had one location. Now we have 2 locations, and I'm getting in there and, punching the bag and doing some network. And every once in a while, I'll let someone try to punch me too.
Right. So let's talk about the market and some of the things because you got your pulse on it, like you said, you're right in it, and having the national view is huge. So what is going on in the market that you're seeing is flourishing and that which is waning?
Yeah. So the market's interesting because it's awful, but it's not awful at the same time. It's like the worst market that's not bad.
Right.
Like, it's this weird thing where, like, you can still take a listing that's a great listing on a great street and you'll have multiple offers, right? But then you take we'll call it a fringe listing, which might still be nice, but just not in the highly most desired street or desired area. And it might sit for 6 months.
Yeah.
Pricing is really hard to kind of narrow down right now because the market has shifted and the market has changed. And you have people call it a buyer's market, but it's not really a buyer's market. Like, if anything that's not a seller's market is a buyer's market, then okay, maybe we're in a buyer's market. But you have where it's an advantage to someone. Like, inventory creates an advantage for a buyer because there's more inventory that's not moving as fast, but it's also the worst economics for a buyer that we've seen in the past decade from a cost perspective.
Mhm.
So there's just not as many buyers out there.
Right.
So as opposed to a seller's market, yes, maybe it's a buyer's market, but if it was a buyer's market, wouldn't we have more buyers? So it's an interesting thing. So some listings are doing really well. Buyers are actually able, if you can stomach the interest rates, which is a temporary problem always, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
always say if the only problem we're going to have is interest rates, like, that's a solvable problem because it will change and it will shift. And if you buy the wrong house, you don't get an automatic free redo
That's
like
right.
in 2 years or 3 years, right? Like, but if you get in at the wrong rate, the one thing that is guaranteed is you will have an opportunity for a redo in the next 5 years.
Absolutely.
Now, it might be a marginal difference or it might be a huge difference, but you will, or it turns out that rate that you thought was bad is actually better than the future rate. Like, you have a chance for a redo.
Yeah.
So the market is weird. Outside of that, you're seeing like real estate companies, like you're seeing these real estate companies that have traditionally grown, and you're seeing that these market dynamics are really stretching what we thought we knew about real estate, what we thought we knew about the real estate company. Your traditional models, your Remaxes, your Keller Williams, even your EXPs, which is a progressive innovator within the traditional sense, like they're struggling. They got really big in the boom, and their expenses are, they're all over their skis.
Yeah.
They're not growing. They're losing agent count. They are, they're just, it turns out that when transactions go small, your lower margin businesses, which are your traditional real estate brokerages who are making the quote unquote pennies, or, the capped pennies on every transaction, they struggle.
Yeah.
Therefore, your uncapped models, your Compasses, your Douglas Edelmans, like these bigger models are actually thriving right now. A Compass is found its footing and has posted like, year over year profits, like over and over again, like in recent reporting cycles. And so they're actually winning, right? So higher margin, uncapped, they're finding a way to thrive. And so it's been really interesting to see from a brokerage perspective, the big guys fall, right? Like the traditional big guys, the traditional works for every agent companies like really kind of struggle, and some of the smaller niche companies start to win a little bit, which is very, very interesting given like what we thought was a universal truth over the past like decade and boom market.
Yeah, and even with the traditional models, it's always pennies on a dollar when it comes down to what their net profit is. So they need to have large numbers and
Well,
transactions, right?
and you need to have large numbers like of producing agents,
Right.
like not hyper producing agents. You really, it's interesting. So if you look at like a Keller Williams, like the model is to support the middle, right? Like the people who are selling, the best agent in a Keller Williams company would be the agent that caps on the 12th month of their year
Yep.
and never gets that one transaction with 100% commission. Like
Right.
if you had all of those, they would print money because there's predictable cash flow. They're going to continue to get it. You don't have any big teams like draining your resources. Like there's no point of friction. And what happens when that goes back and you don't like your what was usually your messy middle of those people who you really make your money on are actually not producing at all, right? Or producing one transaction or two transactions. It really, really it pushes the economics.
That's where the monthly payment becomes a thing, right?
Well, that's where the nickel and diming steps in. And it's like, hey, let me introduce you to our transaction fee. Let me introduce you to the surcharge for this.
Yeah.
Hey, like we have really, and this is not an attack on Keller Williams. This is just in general for, I think brokerage
Not.
tech has always been an issue, but like they all have a brokerage tech fee, right? But those fees, you call it whatever you want, right? Hey, did you know that we're going to charge you an additional fee because for extra E&O insurance? Like, I don't know, like there's this all of a sudden, like these things show up, and it's not an attack on the traditional broker, just what any business does when they struggle. They're looking for ways to get more income in so they can continue to fight the value wall and build the value wall and try to help the agents that have trusted them. It's not never done in a bad way. It's always done as survival, but you as an independent business owner, when you find yourself in a traditional brokerage, like what does that mean for you? Because you're already struggling, right? Just by nature, we're all struggling. Even the top teams are down 20-30%.
Right. And then somebody's having their best year ever.
Yeah.
Right. So one of the, you mentioned earlier, there isn't one brokerage that has a seat for every agent.
Yeah. And I do have a LPT realty on my sleeve, but I don't want this to be like just a nonstop. Excuse me, I get a sip here.
Well, I think it's important because I 100% believe that too. The national firm's not for everybody. Somebody wants a boutique, a cap model. Somebody wants a cap model. Some people don't want that because they want more services. They want more opportunities to just pay attention to their doing the deals, not figuring out the tech and nickel and diamond all the way through.
I think you can so there's 3 agent types in the market. I think we can all agree on this, right? And there's obviously some little differentiation between, but for the main part, there's 3 agent types. You've got one, which is your part-time / new agent category, right? I'm by choice only doing this as a side hustle, or I'm new, so I haven't moved up to the next level yet, and I'm trying to figure this out. So that's the person who's doing anywhere from 0, let's be honest,
Yeah.
transactions a year to, I don't know, like 5 transactions a year. For that person, they're looking for value, but really low economics. So your discount brokerages really win with them. Who has the lowest fees? Who's not like beating them and swiping their credit card every month for monthly fees? Who is offering the lowest cap? And that's where you see these like local, hyper local discount brokerages kind of really thrive. Are these people who are just, they're basically license holders. They're not bringing any real value, but they're giving they're protecting the agent's ability to be able to buy or sell. Then you've got this middle ground. We'll call that from anyone who's doing like 5 transactions upwards of 100 transactions.
Okay.
This is like the foundation that we traditionally saw at your EXPs, your Keller Williams, like your, you know, your Compass for a little bit, like it's the people who are trying to be full-time agents all the way to your empire builders who are trying to build teams of like full-time agents.
Yeah.
Right. And then you've got your third category, which is your really, really brand focused agents, and not necessarily like their brand. They're really proud of the Compass brand. They're really proud of the Sotheby's brand. They're really proud of the Berkshire Hathaway brand. They're looking for clean branding, a lot of high value marketing, and they're looking to associate themselves with a brand that they believe will elevate themselves beyond like what they could do on their own. Like those are the 3 main categories. And while I'd mentioned earlier, like I didn't want it to be like a complete LPT plug, but part of the innovation of what LPT has done is they're the first brokerage who has an option for all 3,
Right.
a standalone option for all 3. And it's all going back to that principle of individual definition of success. Where for the longest time, if you were in that first category, which is basically part-time agent, and you walked into a Keller Williams office, they said, well, you should be a full-time agent. And you would say, well, why? And they didn't say this, but it's because it made more sense in their model. The hypothetical they here wanted to change you because it was better economics for them, right? Same thing as if you went into like a Compass and you were like, hey, like I sell like 100, like you went into like one of those top end offices who's really brand centric, and you were like, hey, I want to sell a bunch of regular houses. And they're like, well, you should probably focus on luxury. You should probably focus on higher price point houses because it's better for our brand. It's better for, and so therefore, it's a changing of you to benefit them. When we all have our individual definition of success, like some of us just want to hold on to our license because our cousin's going to sell their house next year. Some of us want to be part-time to supplement our income. Some of us, like, probably you and I are a little bit more wired. We want to build an empire. Some of us want to cross state lines. And
Right.
for the first time ever, LPT was a company that in their 3 distinct categories, your business builder plan, your revenue partner, which is more of your traditional, and then the standalone luxury brand Aperture, all under LPT Holdings, we can meet people where they are in this season of their life. Because as we talked about, seasons change.
Yeah.
The empire builder becomes the part-time agent at sometimes. The luxury agent or the regular agent becomes the ultra luxury agent, stops being an ultra luxury agent. They move, right? And they're not an ultra luxury price point, but they still want to sling some houses. So because of this, like you've seen this really weird differentiation, like between like what people are and their own definition of success. And you're seeing people flee to find companies that will kind of help them with that. And LPT was kind of designed like that. And on the flip side, you're seeing people like Compass, like really, really thrive. You're seeing like some of these ultra luxury because it's forced these companies to really, really get focused on what they can really do best. Meaning that like at Compass, they've really, really gotten away from trying to compete with the Keller Williams, and they're just being who they are.
Right.
And they're being really happy in that segment, right? Because they were never built to be a Keller Williams, right? You're seeing agents leave Keller Williams and go to or a traditional brokerage and go finding a discount brokerage. You're seeing people at LPT really identifying the segment that they want to be in, and like that, like for the first time ever, you're seeing the market force people into their own categories, where before it was like an agent's an agent, right? And it's not. Right? There's different types of agents, and you're just seeing that it's really showing up now in a pretty big way. Does that track? Does that make sense?
Yeah. The challenge still lies with the agent figuring out what's in their best interest. Like you were saying, that the companies, a lot of companies will want them to meet their needs, the company's needs, not the agent's needs. So how does an agent get through all this morass to be able to figure out where's that going to change? Because that's a huge problem in the industry.
Like you mean from a company perspective, like how do they figure out like where to go? Like
Yeah, like and just in the industry wide, the agents being yanked all over the place and getting set up.
Yeah. I mean, I just think people have to really look and understand that your brokerage matters. Like And a lot of people, like, they don't think that. Like, a lot of people are like, "Hey, I'm okay with the friction that being a national, like, expansion team brings me at a traditional brokerage like, a KW or like a Remax or something like that," right? Or I'm okay with being the agent who sells $250,000 homes a year at a Compass. And they need to realize that, like, there's other options out there, and you really have to anyone can endure pain and endure uncomfortableness and, like, endure friction. But everyone needs to realize it's not necessarily necessary, because now that we have a good understanding of, like, the market segments, you can find a brokerage or a company that supports you and meets you where you are.
Agreed.
Right? And Compass
Agreed.
is a perfect example. We talked about their year-over-year success. It's because they really said, "Hey, I'm gonna stop trying to serve people. I'm gonna really be good at serving the segment,"
Yeah.
which is making them, a best-in-class option, right? A really good option for those who want to be a Compass-style agent. But it's the company confusion, and if you see your company in an identity crisis, that identity crisis shouldn't be affecting your business. And I think by understanding, right, like, who am I in today's market, right? Great. Let's find a company, let's find an option that matches you and meets you where you are and doesn't try to change your definition of success, because that's traditionally been the way.
I mean, I've been on the recruiting side for a dozen or so years, and yeah, it was what the company needed. And many times it was the option was there, or the opportunity was felt like they could blend into it, and the reality isn't that way.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I mean, and it's not always so cut and dry, but it is also kind of cut and dry, right? Like, who do you want to be? What's the company that matches you the best?
yeah.
Right.
The biggest challenge, and I do consult with agents. The hardest are the new agents, because they don't know what they don't know, right? Those are the ones that it's really hard to suggest where they go to figure it out.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it shouldn't be. It's because no matter their aspirations, it's where, like, what they identify as a new agent. What's the best company for new agents?
Right,
Because a new agent needs low cost economics, high value wall, high opportunities for training. What company has that? And you might go, "Oh, well, this traditional brokerage has that." You go, "Okay, they might have the training in theory, but are they going to bleed you out on the dollar side?"
right.
Right, and like, it's actually every agent avatar that we talked about, those 3 actually has really simplistic needs, right? And you can easily pick a brokerage that meets those.
Yeah,
And it doesn't have to be where you stay forever, but right now, it's pretty cut and dry, the ones that meet you where you are today.
yeah. The challenge again. They're going back to there is a home for them. The challenge is they don't know how to measure it. They're easily taken into something that's really not going to be for them, and then they get hurt.
Yeah, and that's so that is why, like, I keep, like I'm talking about Compass a lot here, but for a longest time, Compass really struggled when they went public. They had this kind of identity crisis, but at the time, if you walked in as, like, a brand new agent there, like, they would go, "Yes, we're the perfect place for you."
Yeah,
But now they've gotten really dialed in, and I think they found their identity, and I think they're probably turning, and I can't say this, I'm not Mr. Compass, I don't, like, I'm not making decisions there, but it seems to me is they're really, really identifying their target avatar and agent, and they're going after that avatar and staying away from the ones that aren't. Now the problem is, and they're thriving in this market because they've really gotten into that niche and understanding it, where you have these other companies who are still pretending that they're the best solution for everyone, and they're not, unless they can prove it, right? Unless they've sat down and identified, your one playbook at a company is never going to address the total agent population. Part of the innovation at LPG, like I said, is like we've got 3 distinct playbooks, right? So it's a little bit different in that sense, right? But like your one thing, it's like it's like if you walked into a traditional brokerage and you wore 3 disguises and you were like, "I'm a brand new agent, I'm trying to figure it out." "Hey, this is the perfect place for you." "Hey, I'm a veteran agent, I've got a really big team and I want to grow something that crosses the country." "Hey, we're the perfect place for you."
yep,
"Hey, ultra luxury, I only want to sell the nicest houses. How's your luxury division?" "Perfect, you came in. It's actually the perfect place for you. We're the only place for luxury." Like, that's why brokerages are failing right now.
yeah.
That's why we're really struggling. And that's why some are thriving. That's why your LPTs are thriving. It's why your Compasses are thriving. It's because they've really defined meeting agents where they are today, as opposed to just going, "Hey, we haven't revised the playbook, but we are perfect for you."
Right. It's a challenge out there. It's good to hear that there's some innovation. LPT seems like a great option for that. And we were talking earlier too, to see Compass turn it around, that's a good story, It never made sense to me in the beginning, and it's nice to see that they're turning.
I think it's great. And I think it really, really bodes well for the industry because I think you're going to see like people start to get dialed in on their identity and like who they are and who they serve. And the ones that don't and don't come up with a solution, right, to meet agents where they are and their definition of success, they're going to get left behind.
What would you tell an agent that's thinking of going out and opening up their own shingle, opening up their own firm, and maybe building a team around it, a couple of people here and there? What would you tell them?
They're crazy. Like people are like, well, it's not that complicated. You're right. It's not that complicated. Right. Like it really isn't. Like if you've been in the state of Georgia, if you've been an agent long enough and you can sit through the test and you can get your broker's license, like you could open up an independent brokerage.
Yep, it's insane.
Right.
I've done
But
it.
at
It's
the
insane.
same time, let's talk economics. It doesn't make any sense for you to take on, and it's not that dramatic. Like if it's a small team or whatever, like, oh, well, I'm not taking on that much liability. I don't cause any liability. Great, that's fine. But you are, can we agree that you are taking on an increased liability because you had 0 over here and you have 100% over here? Yes, great. Well, now you have to build out a tech package, which you have to pay everything for. And you might go, well, I don't use the tech at my brokerage anyways. All right. But can we agree that, building out your own tech is more expensive than using even their tech, which it might have only been a 70% match for you?
Right.
Yes. Right. So it just doesn't make sense. And those companies that are evolving and allowing like a lot more optionality for the things, like you lose the liability, you get resources and a value wall from every brokerage. And if you can find economics that match, like why would you ever go out and do it on your own? Plus, it's lonely enough as is. Like, why would you not want to surround yourself? Like the greatest minds in real estate and the people who've had the most successful are the people that surround themselves with people that are greater. And if you're sitting in your own brokerage office surrounded by just you, and you could, there's other ways of seeking this out too, like outside of that, you're always going to be the smartest. And that's problematic. So I think it's crazy. I think it's asinine from an economic reason. I think it doesn't make sense from a tech reason. Like you can't keep up. Like, how are you as an independent brokerage going to keep up with the tech of these giant companies, right? And if you bring an agent on, like, are you doing them a disservice when you're saying, no, I'm going to use my 1980s bundled together tech to go against like the AI empowered like mega teams? Yeah, you're going to be better off in the market because of that. You should give me part of your commission. Like I think it's crazy. Because now you can be a brokerage in all sense, but not a legal brokerage, and there's no liability. You can build a network, you can build a team, you can build a company inside these single entity brokerages, which allows you to go from state to state, which allows you to go from city to city, which allows you to grow, to tap into their value wall in a way where the economics work much better than if you did it on your own. Like it's crazy. And that's not just an LPT thing. That's a single entity cloud-based brokerage thing.
That's right.
Right. And there's degrees of it within there, but like it's just it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, no, you can build your boutique brokerage within a much larger framework,
Yeah, and the liability thing is the real one because like things are changing, right? You've got no call list and you're not supposed to be sending text messages, and you've got, like we're only getting more and more regulated as an industry, which is probably a good thing in some sense, but if anything, like your likelihood of getting sued over something and actually, coming out of pocket a lot is dramatically going up. Why would you want that? Like for what reason?
Agreed. All right, David, this has been great. Appreciate your time. Any other crystal ball moments you want to share with us coming up?
No, man, I appreciate the time. I just, I think like we've been sitting in this market for 3 years now where it just doesn't seem like it's like moving, and it doesn't seem like it's tough. And here's the thing is that like even when I was in a walker and I couldn't walk, and even like when I've hit seasons of struggle, sunshine comes, it's going to rain again. This market will not be followed by a forever great market. We'll have another good market, we'll have another bad market. Like I think we just got to really get in tune with equipping ourselves to meet the needs of today's market. Right? Whether that be from a brokerage perspective, whether it be from a mindset perspective. We've got to quit. When's it going to get better? It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. It is going to get better, and then it's going to get worse, or it might even get worse before it gets better. But like, people spend a lot of time focusing on predicting the weather when they just need to focus on like the rain gear, right?
That's right.
Being prepared for it. So I think if we all as an industry kind of like stay buttoned down or buttoned up, and we stay like, focused on that, I think there's exciting times to come. Millionaires are being made every day. I always say it on the LPT stuff and like on the Catalyst thing. Why not us?
Yeah.
Millionaire to be made tomorrow. And it's all about mindset and how you show up. So yeah, man, I appreciate the time. I appreciate you letting me come on here and just ramble. Hopefully, within those ramblings, like somebody made something that's interesting to them. They can always find me at TLG Companies on Instagram. You can follow the Catalyst Movement on Facebook. I have the easiest email to remember in the history. It's WIN at tlgatl.com. So win at tlgatl.com. That's tlgatl.com. I'm always here to help and talk shop. Obviously, I can talk. So
Yeah. That's fantastic. Appreciate you coming back on, Dave.
all right, buddy, we'll do it
All right.
again.
You best have fun.